way to another edition of Forever Bristol City podcast. We are in joyous mood because certainly as we're recording this at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, we're sat there in fifth position in the league table. Let's hope we're there come 5 o'clock this afternoon. We're reviewing last night's game at Ashton Gate where it finished City 2, Norwich City 1. I'm delighted to be joined by Tom Sutton here with me, Mark Tovey up in Downend, Dave Tovey over in Spain, and Les, wherever you are, Les, but I'm sure it's good to have you back on the pod. As we always do, thoughts on the final whistle. Les, you first. What were your thoughts at 10 o'clock, a late one?
Relieved. I struggled to watch the second half, to be honest with you. I had to keep pausing it and then winding it forward to see Norwich have scored because, I mean, I have to be honest, every time they got the ball in our half, I kind of shit myself because of the way they kind of played between the lines and cut us open. But I mean, we won the game and that's all that matters. I think if we drew the game, I think there would be an argument to say that wouldn't have been an unfair result. But good teams win, and when other teams might have a lot of the ball and create chances. Two things very quickly. A lot of people said that Manning ball wasn't going to work because we didn't have the players to play that kind of football, the money to spend on people who could play that kind of football. Well, he's proving them people wrong because we're playing better football I've seen since we've been back in the Championship. And it's about time people gave Manning the respect he deserves because we're fifth in the league behind Burnley, Leeds and Sheffield United and one other. He's doing a brilliant job. Yet people still find reasons to slag him off. I think he's doing a great job and it was a great result.
Well said, Les. Dave, we're playing good football. What were your thoughts on the final whistle? Because second half, I mean, it was squeaky bum time, certainly for the last 5 minutes. What were your thoughts overall?
We thought it was coming. We knew it was coming. We could sense it was coming. We'd seen that story before. We knew they were going to score. And then it didn't come. And to be honest, it was a statement win without being at our best. And those are the kind of wins that promoted sides get. So if you want to get cheap train tickets to Wembley, I suggest you do it now because that's where we're going.
Optimism there. Tom, what did you think?
First half, very, very impressive. Again, taking a lot of positives from midweek into the Norwich game. Second half was a different sort of display. One where we had to be resolute, defend with sort of this heart that teams use against us. And I thought we did it effectively. And that's a massive result in a very un-Bristol City clutch sort of way where times get tough, you sort of weather it out and you pick up the 3 points. And that was the most impressive bit of showing a different side of us last night.
Mark, what were your thoughts?
It was end-to-end action, exhilarating, breathless, and absolutely exhausting to watch, let alone playing. I mean, City's press was tremendous in the first half. The move for the first goal alone, with Dickie stepping out of the defence, Beckenbauer-like, to advance up the pitch. But we should have killed them off. That's the next step, is to kill teams off when they're down. Invited pressure in the second half, but Friday night should be like this. The end result, the relief around the ground, the adulation for Manning and the team. Why can't we play every Friday night at home? 7 wins out of 9 since the Luton game. And we're in 5th place. We've got a chance. Fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely right. We have got a chance. Les, I think I'm right in saying when we looked at the team, there were 4 changes in the starting lineup. Did the line, and obviously we've lost Tanner now until, well, probably for the rest of the season, maybe for the playoff games, but he's had minor surgery on his knee. Did you look at that side and anticipate those particular changes?
I wasn't expecting him to drop Twine. I know he's played a lot of football, but he's his marquee signing and he seems to have a lot of trust in him. So I wasn't expecting that. Other than that, I wasn't overly surprised by the changes and he got it spot on because we won the midfield battle in the first half. So yeah, I didn't expect him to drop Twine. He did. There was conversation about who would miss out of Bird, Williams, and the other one.
Williams, yeah.
Yeah. And he played all 3, so yeah, it worked.
Yeah, Dave, I mean, the keeping Williams in the side, I like the Knight Bird Williams combo because you don't get a free kick specialist, although we know Bird has got a shot on him, but we've not seen it. But Dave, that lineup, it looked solid, and other than other than Sykes at right back or right wing back, you know, it looks a decent team. It's just sort of, and Wells getting the vote. Good to see him starting again. But what were your thoughts when you saw it named at hour before kickoff?
To be honest, with Sykes on the right, you know there's an element of risk at the back, but he more than pays that off with what he brings going forward. The curious part to the setup for me was the choice to have Roberts as the left wing back and Pring as the left centre back. But actually, when you look at it, it makes sense from a point of view that it's a way to manipulate fresh legs on the wing, because Pring played there against Sheffield United, and maybe by doing it, you can ease a bit of demands on his body and say, right, Roberts, it's your turn. So it's kind of team manipulation, and it actually makes sense when you have so many games in such a quick sense of time.
Mark, your thoughts on the lineup? And as Dave just said, you know, the Pring Roberts on the left side, Cam's not really capable of getting through 90 minutes, so it made sense to maybe play him inside. And how do you think Roberts played, since we're talking about that side of the pitch?
He played. He played well, but yeah, I still don't like Aidan Roberts as left wing back. I think Cam Pring's far better there. I go back to this game against Leicester last season when Roberts played left centre back and they shut out their wide men. And, you know, they were absolutely terrific. I just think Roberts saunters back sometimes with that ungainly run that he has. He gets caught high up the pitch, and then he just hasn't got the pace, the recovery pace that Cam Pring had. I think Cam Pring was a candidate for man of the match, narrowly beaten by Jason Knight. So I think, and going back to the team, I think because it's such a marathon in the Championship that Liam Manning had no choice but to rotate the team. I think as the game wore on, you can see that Joe Williams playing 2 games in 3 days took its toll. You know, taking that booking, you know, towards the end of the first half and walking that tightrope showed that, you know, he can't. He's got no pace in the centre. But his passing again, as you'll see for the goal, was great. But I would like to have seen McGain on earlier and bolster the midfield, because we're really just down to the starters. We're very thin on the ground, especially in central defence. If we get any more injuries, we're really buggered.
No, we are. I mean, I think hearing what you say about I totally agree with light in midfield. Sorry, light at the back. In midfield, you know, you've got the benefit of Earthy and McGuane coming on to replace 2 or 3. When you saw Twiner being dropped, did you think that's a surprise, Tom?
Yeah, I think he's almost an automatic starter under Manning, because I think someone pointed out the faith. I think it was Les pointed out the faith that Manning has in Twine. I mean, that is his man. He was the one really pushing for Twine in summer, and you know, I think we actually do play better football with open play when Twine's not on the pitch. I think when you play Scott Twine, you have to play a certain way. I think we've got a more dynamic midfield, more physical midfield when you play a Bird and a 10. I think he's a different sort of player where he can drop a little bit deeper, almost into an 8 position, pick the ball up, and then you link it with one-touch passing, and you do the little triangles that we took against Sheffield United into the Norwich game, and it worked really well. With Roberts and Pring, I think he's playing Pring left centre back due to his pace. I think he gets Roberts out of so much defensively, because Roberts' second half was higher than Mehmeti at times. And I think he's got the trust in Cam Pring if they come forward when they attack down that side, because they were sticking their wingers, the pair of them, really high and wide, that Cam Pring's got that recovery pace. But if it was 1v1 against Roberts, you'd be going, don't think Roberts has got the pace for that. But yeah, no, Twine's an interesting one. You know, he brought him on again. I think it's okay. I think it's pretty good when he came on, Scott Twine. But
I think it's worth remembering that in the Norwich away game, that was one of the first games where Bird was playing as the attacking midfielder. So it worked pretty well there, because you know what Norwich are going to do. You need to be able to press with speed. So it kind of made sense not to have Twine there yesterday and have these kind of guys that were having that impact of penning them in slightly more. And I guess it worked so well in the first game, he thought, why not do it again? And it was very effective.
And he said that in his post-match press conference, that we know how Norwich played. I mean, you know, entertaining game of football. I mean, if you were watching that on Sky TV, I had a few mates around the country saying, you guys look really good. And it was really entertaining, you know. And all I would say, can we play Norwich every week? You can see why they've scored 60 goals, but they've also conceded 54. Let's get into the action. Les, the opening goal, we'd had a little early scare when Sykes had got done by one of their blokes, but Rob Dickie was the architect. Take us through the opening goal as you saw it.
Well, yeah, he won the ball and he won some duels and he put it out to Sykes on the right, who drove in, cut on his inside and put it in the far corner. It was a great finish. He's obviously high in confidence. Dickie did a lot of the work to get to win the ball, had to work very hard. And I think we need to have a conversation about Mark Sykes getting a new contract because he's only got a year left on his deal. There's obviously rumours about his attitude and the pay he's on. It's all probably people, I don't know, stirring the pot. But I think one of the priorities this summer is to time down to a longer deal because I think he can play multiple positions. He's creative. He's good on the ball. He scores goals. And actually, this passing football that Manning plays, I think it suits his game really well. So he's high in confidence, and it was a great finish on his.
And he scored some crucial goals because if you take the one at Norwich from the free kick, midweek at Sheffield, and tonight, Dave, Les said Dickie was the architect quite rightly, but I think it was Williams that slipped the pass through to him, was it? Bird, Bird put the pass in. Did you expect? I mean, we've said the players need to shoot more. Yeah, and there was times, Mehmeti particularly, where he did over-elaborate last night. But what a cracking finish that was by.
Well, I think the first thing is that all the credit in the world to Dickie, because one of the criticisms from the first Sheffield United goal was that the defenders didn't jump out quick enough, and in this particular case, Dickie was on it straight away, and Norwich kind of did that manual press to win the ball back ASAP, and Dickie had to kind of skip a couple of tackles. And the Dickie of maybe 6 weeks ago loses the ball at some point there or mishits the pass or doesn't quite do what he needs to. But oddly, since McNally got injured, he's kind of refound his form again. And the goal comes from that. And as we've evolved through the season, what I like about what we're doing now is instantly, as soon as there is an option to attack, that is what we are doing. And if you look at it, literally, it's Dickie to Bird to Sykes, cut inside, goal. And it's just an evolution. It's quick stuff. It's not messing about anymore. It's when there's an opportunity, go for the kill. And the more we do that, the more successful we will be.
Mark, Dave there has alluded, Les did earlier, we're playing a brand of football, certainly at home, and away, because I thought we had class Sheffield United in midweek. That goal was evidence of the fast front foot attacking football that we have displayed on and off up until, say, a month ago, but now it just seems to be, it's part of our DNA that we're getting what we were promised, aren't we? And that goal epitomised that.
Mark, you're on mute.
Mark, you're on mute.
No, I'm not on mute. Can you hear me?
We can now.
You can, sorry. If you look at a lot of possession in the first half against Sheffield United, if you were neutral, you could say City's possession was a bit sterile because they played it in a horseshoe around them. But like that equaliser, it was forward passes and at pace. So that's the difference. It's players moving the ball quickly so defenders can't react. And the reason we get that goal is because Sykes takes it on his wrong foot. He goes outside and, of course, hits the ball early into the top corner. Now, when I saw it first time, I thought Dickie was going to play it across Mehmeti because Mehmeti was in high position, free on the left, but thank God he didn't. It was just a linear move straight down the side. We don't see City do that enough. We see them get into good positions, but we don't see them execute goals enough. So that's the progression we made. We've got to keep doing that. But it was a move in transition, defenders stepping out, a good pass, and Max Bird was in that pocket in the centre of the pitch. He had so much space a lot of the time. Once our players were goal side of their press, Max Bird picked up the ball in the centre and started the moves. And really, we should have, at half time, we could have been 4-0 or 3-0. It was that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah.
Les has alluded to the fact right at the start of the podcast that, Manning, we're not giving him the credit that he deserves, and he stuck to it. He stuck to his principles, believe in the process. Yeah, I was with Scott Murray at Senior Reds on Thursday, and Chris sat chatting to him over lunch, and he said, the spirit's really good at the moment. Do you think, Manning, and it was an excellent, I don't know if anybody read it, I didn't, I know a few other people did as well, excellent article on Manning in The Guardian yesterday, talking about how he's coped with his family, loss of his son. Do you think we should start to be paying him a little bit of respect, or have that question in 5 games' time?
Well,
have that statement in 5 games.
I think we're seeing the best form at home in absolutely years. So you've got to give them some credit for that, because I remember a few years ago winning at home was nearly impossible for us.
Well, we were the best away side in the country.
We were fantastic away, but we couldn't win at home. So he's got to have some credit for that. I think you're now seeing how he wants to play football. I think there was a certain amount of stubbornness from him, particularly at the start of the season when it wasn't working. Maybe he should have changed it and should have adapted, but he stuck with it, to his credit. It's worked out. If it hadn't, you'd be asking questions, but it has worked out, and that's the most important thing. So maybe we should put more trust in his managing ability rather than going, oh, if he adapts this, if he does that. But does he deserve more credit? Yes, but I think it suits us, this sort of not having an expectation on us. I worry now that we're in 5th, a certain level of expectation gets put on you.
I know.
And then we've seen it in years gone by when there's expectation on City that we sort of collapse. And it worked where we were, because we were sort of this quiet team in 7th place, just on the verge. And now we're there. Now we're
I mean, I'm preparing. Sorry, Dave, go on.
I think Manning deserves all the credit in the world. But to go against the points that you said, it's not because he's stuck with his principles. It's because he has adjusted in the correct ways. If you go back to like the Blackburn goal, the Portsmouth goal, trying to play out from the back, we don't do that anymore. No. We're not doing just horseshoe football. He has seen, okay, this is not working for me, the twine and the hybrid. And instead of being stubborn and I'm going to do it this way, we are not playing the same football as we were pre-Christmas. And that is down to him. And that is an evolution, and he has seen what works. And also, against Sheffield United, we had all the ball. Against Norwich, it was a case of, right, this is what we're going to do, because they're going to play this ridiculous football that we used to want to play. Now we do not. And we're going to take advantage of it, and we're going to press. For me, he deserves all the credit because he's evolved as a manager and not stuck to his principles.
I don't know. I think what you see is you know what you're going to get from Manning team. You know you're going to get building out from the back. You know that you're going to have expansive width. I think you make a good point about, I think we win games in different styles now. The performance against Sheffield United was completely different to the one we saw yesterday. And that's the biggest thing for me. That's the biggest positive with Manning, like you allude to, is you're able to win games playing different styles and different tactics.
So he's adapting.
He's adapting, yes, within a certain style, but it's winning games.
And there was some criticism amongst all the good last night about the substitutions, but I think that was more about the individual
depth, though.
I don't know. It was more about individual performances. We'll come on to that in a minute. Les, you'd expect Norwich to come back, and they did. I mean, there was a whole catalogue of things. I'll list them, and you give your views on all of them. I mean, Zach Viner coming out of defence, dreadful error, put them in. 2 stunning saves from Max O'Leary. One a stunning save, one you'd argue was doing his job. And then Sainz hits the post. I mean, Norwich came back at us all guns blazing, didn't they? But we held firm. But what were your views on those chances to save Zach's error?
Well, they're very good going forward. I mean, it's rare I watch Championship football and I see a team that's slick in the opposition half. I mean, I'm a half glass full person. Viner's the one who kind of worries me a little bit, to be honest. I think he has lapsed in concentration, especially on the ball, and he gifted that chance for them when they hit the post. In terms of O'Leary, I mean, I don't think he made stunning saves. I think he made saves you expect him to make. If any of those go in, you're asking the question as to how they've gone in. These aren't efforts in the top corner from, with power. They were relatively close to him, so he did his job. But yeah, like I said before, he came on, Norwich going forward, you can see why they're the second top scorers in the league. And then, to be fair, Sainz, I mean, I think he's only got 1 year left on his contract. If he hasn't, how much would he be worth? How much is Sargent worth? These are top players. Do you know what I mean? These are players who I think are probably too good for the Championship. And I think we had a little bit of luck. He hit the post when Viner gave it away. Sainz kicked the post when he missed that chance from 6 yards out. we rode our luck a little bit, but I think we deserve to ride our luck because
Mark,
I thought
Mark, Les said Saves and Max doing their job. I thought the first one was instinctive, but he got down well for it, didn't he? Maybe the second one was a bit more routine, but they came at us strongly, and it was all part of the entertainment. But then the shot that hit the post, I mean, we weathered that mini tornado from them, didn't we? Mark, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Still on mute. Yeah, Dave, you pick it up. You pick it up.
Yeah, the first save I actually think is a pretty decent save, mainly because of the way that he knocks it far enough away from him. The others are regulation. In terms of Max, what we've seen is a slight, what I would call is the standard. This is what you want from your goalkeeper. I mean, yeah, okay, you can argue about some of the saves that he knocks into in a goal, but some of those are down to good attacking play, about being in the right position. I actually think that Max has evolved as a keeper, and if he can keep this standard, you may be looking at saying, okay, you have a championship or a promotion quality keeper, and I hope he stays at this level because he's actually been at a higher level for me
in recent weeks. Tom?
I think with Max, what you get is a guy that is very good at instinctive saves. I always back him one-on-one, really. I think he's very good at spreading himself. The close range shots, I don't think have ever really been an issue for him. I think that's when Max is at his best. I also think when Max is busy, he's at his best. I think it's games like QPR where you make one or two crucial decisions and he makes the wrong one because he's not switched on. That Max is, maybe it's worth at Swansea again, where he parries it. And it's in those sort of games where he's not got much going on. But I think with Max, his kicking's got better. Still not perfect, but it's definitely improved. And I'm not sure if he's a top 6 goalkeeper for me, but he's definitely got better. And his all-round game, and there's a certain level of confidence. And I still think he could do with some backup, some competition rather than Bajic, but
that's going to happen. That's bound to happen in the summer, depending on what. Right, Mark, are you back in the room now? Not on.
Can you hear me now?
I can. I don't know what was happening earlier, but just very quickly before I go back to Les for the goal, Max, routine saves or doing his job?
I think what he did, opposed to Middlesbrough and Swansea, got very strong hands to them, so they went straight back out, and City should have cleared the first one from the corner before the second one came in on the edge of the area before it was recycled. So yeah, their saves I expect him to make, even the one against Sargent in the second half. So standard saves. Distribution's a bit better. He needs to dominate the area a bit more. Sometimes he's been prone to let long range shots in when he doesn't get down quickly enough. So there's still room for improvement. He's probably about a middle into upper championship goalkeeper, but he's not going to go to the Premier League. So he's our goalkeeper, and we need.
Well, he could go to the Premier League with us. You don't know. Les, weathered the storm, and then the second goal. Again, that Cordoba at the back for them. What a bloody joke! Panamanian international cost £3 million from Safir, I think it was. He was a bloody joke, but. I mean, what I liked in the build-up to that goal was the way Jason Knight, very quick footwork, they worked it out. But take us through that. Nicky Wells. God, when are the Sky commentators going to learn how to pronounce our players' names? But take us through that second goal as you saw it, because that put us in the driving seat.
Well, they tried to pass it out the back, and then Bird basically cornered Cordoba and, intercepted him. Got it to Knight, who had some quick footwork. I don't know if he put it through the player's legs. I don't know if he played it back to Bird, who then passed it to Williams, or Knight may have passed it directly to Williams. It's a great run by Wells. And Williams has picked him out with a slide rule pass, and then he's kind of turned. Well, he hasn't turned, but he's conned the defender a little bit and done what strikers do, hit it low and hard in the corner. Through the defender's legs. Defenders always stretch their legs out to try and block the shot. It's gone between his legs in the far corner. Keeper ain't got a chance. It's a great finish. And it shows that the press that we have is very, very effective against teams who struggle to play the ball out. And that's what Norwich do, They are very, very good going forward. Their manager's clearly trying to play with a very particular identity. but they are ropey at the back, and we see it all
And
the time. Teams making
two
mistakes
things there,
with
Les.
the
You
ball.
use the term slidable pass from Williams. That's the sort of pass in that attacking position that Scott Twine is there for, but then he doesn't have the bite and, dare I say it, the mobility. I mean, Williams doesn't get around a lot. So that was a good pass from that perspective. But also, Naki Wells, you said about negotiating a contract for, City have a 1-year option that they've taken up on site. Naki's can walk in the summer. Would you be offering Naki something in the summer, or say thanks and
No.
goodbye?
I'd say thanks and goodbye, because we're not going to get rid of Armstrong and Miulu, and we need the money to sign a top striker, in my opinion. I know we won't get any money for Wells in terms of a fee, but we'll save money on wages. So for me, I think in the summer, I'm not one of these people who sits there moaning about Tinian like a lot of people do. I think the recruitment's been generally quite good, but I think the summer recruitment has been an issue in terms of the striker. So I think this summer that's got to be a priority, a top striker at this level. And that means, unfortunately, Wells, I assume,
Okay.
will be moved on.
I'll come to you next, Dave. Dave, the goal and the thoughts on Naki. Some people are saying he should be given a coaching contract, to help bring on Fally.
Okay, I'll do the goal, and then Les, I have a question for you. For the goal, I think in terms of the Norwich side of it, it's like you can have all the process in the world and you can back yourself all you want, but sometimes it gets to the point where it's disrespectful football. Like when he's in that corner, he needs to just be going long, and they did it in the first game as well. And for us, it was just like a Christmas present. It's like, okay, if you guys are going to be that stupid to give it away high up, thank you very much. And then the Wells composure of the turn, that's kind of a striker's goal, the composure of not to panic, to turn and to slot it home. It's a good goal, but it's a Christmas present goal that we took full advantage of. And in terms of the question, Les, when you say about letting him go, in terms of the money he's on and the age that he's at, would you be confident of replacing him, even if he was, say, a second or third striker, with somebody of an equal value on an equal wage? Because I think he brings quite a lot, even if he's not the starter. So, would you be confident of bringing something else in?
We have 5 strikers. We have 5 strikers, and we play one up top.
But don't you think there's maybe other areas that we can, for example, maybe, like you said, in terms of Fally, would you really be wanting to keep him next season? Even Bell, I think Wells brings so much.
Yeah, but you can't just go to a club and say, "Oh, do you want Fally? Pay 2 million and he's yours." And if the club don't want him, the club don't want him. The fact is, we've forked out a lot of money on 2 young strikers who are on long contracts, who other teams may not want, or in Sinclair Armstrong's case, we don't want to sell. So if we keep Wells, we're going to have lots of strikers for one spot. That'll be an increase in the wage bill that perhaps we can't afford. So for me, Wells, 34 years old, is playing better than ever. Don't get me wrong, and I think Manning deserves credit because he's partly responsible for that. But if he's earning, I don't know, 10 grand a week,
he's probably one of the best. Look, I mean, if you look at the strikers, as we've all said, we play with one striker, right? And at the moment, right, we've got 2 duds based on where we're at, but they're here on long contracts, so they ain't going out the door anytime soon. You've got Harry Cornick, who have been trying to get rid of for 12 months, and you've got Naki, who's going to go. And then you've got the question of Sam Bell as well. Where does he feature? Because I don't seem to know what his best position is. Mark, your thoughts? Go on.
I think we'll benefit from Naki's experience of being in a promotion winning squad at Huddersfield in 2016-17 enormously. But he'll go at the end of the season and still play a good level, probably in League One. He'll want a 2-year contract at least, and he's got great fitness. He'll perform well there. But Huddersfield got promoted through the playoffs against Reading in 2016-17, didn't win either semi-final or the final. They won both on penalties. So he's been there. He was then transferred to Burnley, wasn't he, in the summer, and played for him a couple of times before he came to us. But having a striker with his experience is good. I mean, it's a bit sentimental, and I think we've done this before. Move somebody on to coach. They wouldn't get the same money as they would playing in the league with the bonuses and the signing on fees. He'll go with the club's blessing and a lot of praise for what he's done over the last 5 years. He's been a brilliant servant to this.
He has 100% right there, Mark. And if they didn't get promoted, you could see somebody like Naki going to a Wrexham, at that next level down. Tom, thoughts on Naki, and while we're about it, just to wrap up the first half, he should have made it. He should have made it 3-0 because Bird showed his shooting prowess and brought a good save from Long, but then Long surpassed himself, or should Wells have done better?
Wells should have scored. I know we were digging out Sinclair and Sheffield United going, "Oh, Naki would score that," but I think even Sinclair would have scored that shot against last.
Hey Tom, come on, you're pushing it. Come on.
It's like
telling you eat 4 spreaded wheat next.
I know. But again, he should score.
He's just got to lift the ball over him, hasn't he?
But from Naki, you're thinking there's got to be a bit of attacking intelligence where you place the shot. We were complaining about Sinclair where you place the header. You look at the goalkeeper's position; he's on the floor. The one place you don't play it is on. I know he needs to get a good contact in the ball, and he needs to. More difficult chance, I think, that one, and arguably the Sheffield United header. But
the thing is, Tom, what he did right was I watched the replays. He held his run brilliantly.
That's what he tried.
That was brilliant.
But with Naki, you get a certain level of attacking intelligence that I don't think Sinks has. I think his movement in and around the box is fantastic. He scores headers, quite a few headers for a guy so small, and that comes simply off movement. I would love to see Naki stay. I hope he does. I know Les's point about, you don't want to go into next season with a guy that you paid $2.5 million for in Fallon Yu, however much paid Sinclair for, and Naki. But I don't think Naki Wells should suffer because of poor summer recruitment in the year before. And, I think on paper right now, Naki Wells is our best striker. So you're talking about because the recruitment was wrong in Fally, or what appears to be wrong currently, Naki
I think the factor in Naki is the fact that in the summer he's 35.
Yeah.
And he is one of the better wage earners. And I agree with what you say. It looks like we're penalising him for the poor summer recruitment. But I think I'm inclined to agree with Darm on here, who says Armstrong is sure to improve, but Fally will be forgotten. Yeah, I think it highly unlikely that Fally will wear a Bristol City shirt again. That's just
I couldn't. When Tinian said, he'll be back in the summer, it's fanciful. I think the guy just didn't settle, I'm guessing, and the confidence he showed in those early games, and somebody was showing a show reel on OTIB of some of his touches, he just completely lost his confidence. The player that we bought, and I don't know how he's playing for Sturm Graz. I think he's been injured recently, but he seems more comfortable there, and I think he'll make the decision as to what he wants to do, where he's best suited, and that's what will happen.
All right, Dave, 3-0 and it's game over. But Tom said he should have buried it. You concur with that view?
It's a high quality save, but he can only save it because of where Naki's put it. And if it was Armstrong in that situation, we would, we'd be pretty fuming. If it wasn't already 2-0, we'd be criticizing, saying it's not good enough. He'll never make it at this level. But because Naki has a bit of credit in the bank, we're a bit more lenient. And it's more one of those things, but it's certainly not one you want to be missing too many times. But it's kind of representative of lots of moments in the season of how many times have we said we had the chances that we haven't stuck them away. And at the moment, it's not costing us, but at some point it just might.
Yeah. The second set was the save by Long. I mean, the first one was showboating save because he sprung to his left a bit like Max did in the second half, but he was down on the ground. I mean, good save or poor miss by Naki?
Well, Long made a real mess of the first shot. It's a poor miss and a good save. It's both. I mean, Wells shouldn't have given him the opportunity to make the save, but he has got up very quickly. But I think Wells, striker of his quality, his experience, he should be burying that. He gave the goalkeeper a chance, and he shouldn't have given the goalkeeper a chance.
True. So, Dave, into the second half, you're over there in Spain having your churros, I'm sure, to wash it down with a cup of coffee or maybe something stronger. We're looking at our clocks, and 2 minutes earlier than normal, double substitution. Earthy and Armstrong coming on for Wells and Williams. Personally, I thought taking Williams off was probably for our own good because, he's always got a red card in him. So he came off. And I thought Earthy made a contribution. Wells went off. And dear Sinclair Armstrong, let's just talk about his performance. Let's talk about his performance today. But those two substitutions, Dave, first of all.
The Earthy for Williams one actually made sense again, referring back to Sheffield United. If you remember, Bird came off at half time, and I think there's actually a thinking a few games ahead here. Bringing Bird off at halftime in Sheffield United means he could play a lot more of yesterday's game, which means the Williams sub, after playing most of the game the other day, it kind of makes sense in terms of giving everybody manipulation of fresh legs. When Earthy came on, I kind of thought he brought an energy to it. In terms of Armstrong, I didn't think he was at his best at all. And I think it looked like a guy that after that miss was short of confidence. He had a few threatening moments, but every time he got the ball, it looked like his confidence had just been sucked out of him. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but I'm a bit worried for him now, because I think he had that good run of form. He got a big moment, missed it. I'm not sure what that's going to do to his confidence long term.
Okay. Mark, the substitutions and Armstrong's overall performance yesterday, because he just didn't look up for it, his pressing or closing people down. I thought he played one of those games like he did, I'll say 2 or 3 months ago, where you're thinking, what's going on, Mark?
I think his defensive play is, well, say lacking. That's probably an understatement. I mean, against Sheffield United, I remember at home in injury time, he didn't do any defending. He was drifting along when it was like Rorick's drift, and we eventually succumbed to that Harrison Burrows goal. But he didn't look bad going forward. He was getting his body goal side of defenders, linked up play well, got into decent positions, but he's not a finisher. And that's the problem. We got a striker who doesn't score goals. I thought it was a bit of a gamble putting Earthy on because it was an attacking substitution. He's not a defensive midfield player like Joe Williams. But I think the idea was to drop Mark Sykes back into more of a defensive anchor role as right wing back, and Earthy is the outlet. And Earthy was waiting for that early ball sometimes. You saw him screaming for the ball when Norwich had a high line and we could have got him through on a few occasions. And Max Bird was very unlucky with a couple of through balls that were stopped by last-ditch challenges. So attacking substitution from Manning, taking a risk by putting George Earthy on. Armstrong, I don't think it was his worst game. Defensively, he's awful at pressing. But I think he did offer a threat going forward. But that's as good as you're going to say. Armstrong offers a threat. Armstrong doesn't score goals. He got into a couple of positions. I think he blazed wide. But he can take the play up the pitch. And if he can do that and we can make something from it, maybe we can score some goals. But then it goes back to this forward who doesn't score goals. And when is he going to score?
Dave?
This is the frustrating thing of yesterday, because once Armstrong was on, Norwich were in risk-on mode. You know, at times they were like 2 for 2 at the back. They were taking huge risks in search of a goal. And it was made for a moment like Armstrong. And he was, in a way, he was offering the threat because of his attribute and the risk that they were taking. And he still wasn't able to take advantage in that particular situation. And if you look at scoring goals against Hull, crosses in the box, it's not the right game for Armstrong. Yesterday, an opportunity with a stretched defense didn't really produce a chance where you say he must score there. Going forward, when we talk about his improvements, can you really become an instinctive goal scorer? I don't think you can. I think the attributes that he's got, he does well, but in front of goal, he misses the one quality that you need. And I'm not sure that you can learn that.
I mean, attitude, let me say, Tom, attitude. You know, there was a couple of times when the games is there. I mean, you look at how much Jason Knight runs himself into the ground. I mean, he ran himself into the bloody ground. And if we don't get promoted, if we've still got Jason Knight as a player next season, which is the 50th anniversary season of getting to the Premier League equivalent, and everybody knows that the preceding season to that 74-75, we were in the sort of position we're in now. I'll come on to that later.
No, David, we know because we're old enough.
Hang on, but Armstrong, I thought his attitude just didn't seem right.
Yeah, I mean, I can forgive misses because if you've at least got yourself to not run and to not press. There's times with the ball 5 yard either way of him, and he's just like there.
Yeah,
and you're like, right. But I know you've been subbed, and I know he's gonna be furious about being on the bench because he wants the manager to trust him. And I imagine to him it feels like an absolute gut punch to have that miss at Sheffield United and then not be started, and then almost feel it's because of that miss.
Yeah, but he was only here because Wells was injured anyway. So Wells has emerged as first choice striker.
Yeah,
yeah.
But if you're looking from Sinclair's point of view, you're going, what do I have to do? I've missed one chance, and I've been on the bench because of it. And I can see it to a certain point, but it's professional football. You've got to cut that out. You've got to come on and you've got to prove why you should be the one starting. And with Sinclair, what you get is a guy that carries a threat simply due to his pace. His attacking intelligence. It's one where he gets onto the left wing and he passes it straight, across
that
the
was
box.
awful. It was straight to one of their players.
And then
so he'd done the good stuff. He'd run into the space, which is what he's good at.
Yeah.
Controlled it, and his close control is good at times.
But the thing with Sinclair is that you're trying to mould him into a footballer. You've bought a guy with such amazing physical attributes, and you're trying to almost like he's an 8-year-old. You're trying to be like, right, this is how you play football. This is what you have to do. These are the runs you have to make. This is how you link up. And the way I actually thought link-up play is one of the best. That was one of the best times I saw him. There was a lot of one-touch passes back into midfield. But what he doesn't do, he does it, and he sort of stands there and admires it. You need to do it and then spin.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's those little things where you lay it back and then you go straight away. You don't stand there and go, right, okay. Because what he doesn't do enough is enough runs and behind. He doesn't run behind centre backs. What he does is he likes doing a channel run. So he'll go, right, I'm quicker than you. I'll throw my arm across you and I'll try and beat you on the outside. He doesn't go inside or come behind the fullback. No blindsided runs. And you're like, right, okay. So what are you, Sinclair? Are you a winger? Are you a left winger? That's when you played at QPR. You did. Or are you a number 9? Are we trying to mould you into a number 9 like a Semenyo?
Well, that comes on to the point. Les, I mean, has Armstrong got the potential? I'm trying to think how old Armstrong is now and where
he's 21.
He's 21. Is he a diamond in the rough in the same way that Antoine Semenyo was? And look how Semenyo has kicked on since he's left us. Should we be?
There's too much short-termism. You know what I mean? 5 years ago, Semenyo at the same age was on loan at Sunderland, scoring 0 goals in League One, getting his loan terminated because he wasn't having an impact. Sinclair Armstrong, at the same stage in his career, is playing regularly in the Championship, scored goals in the Championship, and people are sat here or people are putting on the chat, he's a League One player, he's not good enough. He's 21. He's not 28. So let's give him a bit of time and let's see if he can mould into a top player like Semenyo has. Because at the same age, he's further ahead than Semenyo was in a range of different aspects of his game. I don't really understand this negativity, to be honest with you. And I think he's one of the reasons we've improved, because he gives us an option to get up the pitch, like Mark was saying. He gives us an opportunity to run into the channels with that ball over the top, which we didn't have previously. So, I mean, people slate him, whether it's on here, whether it's on the forum. I don't really understand it, to be honest with you. If he was 28, I completely get it. He's 21. Give him a chance. I mean, yes, he may not turn into this top player.
Okay, Mark, your comments?
I think Armstrong would have benefited from having a loan spell when he was at QPR in League 2 or League 1. That's where Semenyo improved, playing at Newport. And I think he must have been stung by the rejection he got at Sunderland, I think under Lee Johnson, that he was never going to make it. But Armstrong, by comparison, had 2 loan spells at Aldershot and Torquay in the National League, and he was signed when he was 17 years old. So he played about 63 games for QPR, mainly as a wide player. But he didn't. I think he would have benefited from perhaps playing and scoring at a lower level and built up his confidence. So he played a lot of games at QPR. Fans have laughed at him. I think he's still got chance to develop. But whereas Semenyo had that chance to build up his confidence in League 2, that's the difference between him and Armstrong. But Armstrong's only 21. He's not 22 until June. There's still time, but we've got to iron out those flaws on his game. Otherwise, he's not going to go anywhere.
Maybe
I think Les makes a good point in the last 5 or 6 games, shall we say, he's actually played very, very well, doing a lot of the striker stuff. The issue is in that period of time, if it can be an issue, is where do you see his opportunities to score goals? It's not like at the beginning of the season where he was missing chances. Right now, I can only think of one, and that one against Sheffield United. But apart from that, he's not really missing that many chances. So I don't really see a progression.
He hit the side netting yesterday on the angle.
I think a lot of his
So he is
confidence,
getting chances.
he just needs. I mean, he played in his header against Sheffield United was very safe. He wanted to get it on target rather than score a goal. All he had to do was cushion the ball high into the net.
But even the one yesterday, that isn't one that you're thinking, oh, you should be finishing that. That's more of a pot shot.
I'm hit the far post, and he blazed it round the near post. But I think he's got a confidence issue, and that can be worked on. I think the mechanics are there, the physicality is there, and I don't think he's a lost cause. But he would have been treated. He would have been treated as a punt, I think.
Sorry, what did you say then?
A punt, as in of a buy. Somebody who's made a lot of championship appearances and scored many goals. So a bit of a bargain buy who we can develop. But
well, I think the difference between I think Mark hit it on the head there. Like he is like Les says, he was the same age as Semenyo, and I think he's definitely ahead of where Semenyo was at this age.
There you go.
But a lot more games.
We didn't rely on Semenyo as much as we rely on Sinclair Armstrong. We let Semenyo develop. We let him go on loan. We were proactive with him. We weren't flogging him when it wasn't working. And I don't think necessarily it's not working. You can see there's a frustrated figure there, and you can see that he wants to start games. He wants a consistent run of games.
But show that application when you go on the pitch. Don't get the hump and don't go bumbling around. Because
I think that's another thing with age, though. He's a young player and he wants to play. And I imagine to him when he's been told, he's been brought in, he's scored in his debut against Millwall, and it's like, right, I can see with him there's this real determination, like with Anis, where it's like, I need to get better, But when Anis gets bought off and when he comes back into the squad, he's not always on it either. No. And I think it's a young player thing where they've not had enough time, enough experience to reflect back on and to put it all in context. I think it's the end of the world if they get dropped. And when they come back in, it can loom over them a little bit, in this sort of angry way that I think he was a bit yesterday. But he should have gone on loan at QPR to develop. And I've not seen he's played 70 championship games now.
Yeah.
So it's not like
it's 70.
He's come on and been in 70
all right, I think we're all agreed. Sinks, for all your thoughts, mate. You got potential and we believe in you. Fally, we don't know. Bye-bye, Harry. Bye-bye, Naki.
I hope not bye-bye, Naki.
But it's looking a bit like that. Let's wrap the game up. Dave, come to you, and then you, Les, then you, Mark. We made substitutions. Twine coming on from Mehmeti, who I thought Mehmeti over-elaborated things a little bit yesterday. Some good footwork, but no real end product. 10 minutes to go. Bell and McGuane coming on for Sykes and Bird. Sykes, Dave, still had legs in him, in my view, and putting Bell at right back. I think you texted me or somebody did during the game. He was at fault. He came on against Sunderland, didn't he, and was weak. Do you think he could have done better in cutting out a cross or a goal? Somebody berated me for saying, "Oh, we got in one header," but didn't alter the fact that he wasn't close enough on the player when it was it Doyle put the ball in the middle for Sains and the inevitable goal came. Dave,
I mean, once Bell came on as a right wing back, I don't see it at all. He looked absolutely lost in terms of the goal itself. He gets completely done from being slightly out of position, and they just take full advantage of it. And even once they've scored, straight after they have a throw in, and Bell's kind of looking around like, what do I do next? And you've got the Norwich player right behind him, and it's like, mark him. And I think after maybe 10 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes, he did kind of settle down. But quite easily, they could have scored 2 goals from attacking Bell's side of the pitch. He's just not a right wing back. I think as a left wing back, he's done all right, but he's not a right wing back. And yesterday kind of summed it up for me. We got away with one.
Chris has said, valid point. Sykes says Sykes held his hand up before sub, like he pulled something. Sykes went over the byline in a rare City attack in the second half, and I think he did pull up. But there was an argument, Les, for if you want to be solid at the back, you don't put Sam Bell there because Dave just said he looks like a rabbit in headlights most of the time. Yeah, you could have switched Jason Knight to right back. Yeah, put Jason Knight in there because he played that for Derby, and just keep your best players on the pitch. Maybe left Bird on because it's not like we got a game on Tuesday. So, what did you think of their goal and the substitution leading up prior to it? I get McGuane coming on to a point, but you know, you could have done things a bit differently. It didn't make any difference in the end. But your thoughts, Les?
Well, we haven't got the squad depth at right back due to injuries, and if Sykes has pulled out, then he needs to be replaced. If you're, Jason Knight has played at right back, right wing back before for Derby, but he's running the midfield week after week. Who's to say that you then put him on the right and then they don't just walk through us in the middle? Because McGuane is, he hasn't played a lot of football, and he's a sitting midfielder. He's not particularly dynamic. He doesn't get around the pitch in the same way that Knight does. So no, I mean, I think there is an argument potentially for Knight to play there in the future if we were short from the start, but I wouldn't take our midfield. I wouldn't take our midfield general, who is potentially one of the best centre midfielders in the league at the moment. Yeah, Jason Knight, in my opinion. You don't take him out in that position, in my opinion. And Bell was the only option.
What about you? Because you played against Sheffield United in exactly the same position, and he.
Well, yeah, you or Bell, one of the two. Yeah, he made the decision on Bell.
Mark, what were you going to say? And then I've got a view as well. Mark, what were you going to say?
There was a decision that he could have made. The other thing he could have done was he could have shifted to a 4, put Viner as right back, with Dickey right centre back or left centre back, and Roberts with Pring his left back. Viner's not a great right back because his game management, he gets out of position, but he could have done that and gone for a 4-5-1. I think the problem is with Sam Bell, he's defensively suspect. Once somebody gets goal side of him, there's no way he's getting back. And that's how we conceded that late goal at Sunderland. They targeted his position, and Roberts got in the position. The French wide player they had just worked the area well and played the ball back inside him and Roberts, who was out of position. But Callum Doyle is a very good left-sided defender on loan from Man City. He's played loads of games in the Championship. He was on loan at Coventry in their playoff defeat season with Luke McNally. He played for Leicester last season, so he's player valued by Man City. And he got, really, somebody like Mark Sykes would probably have got closer to him. But once he whipped that ball back, they had numbers in the area. Good touch by Signs, and he smacks it in the roof of the net.
Let me just add to what you said there, Mark. In a roundabout way, you were thinking my thinking as well, because you could have moved everybody across to the right, still stuck with a 5, and dare I say it, brought in Morrison in his natural left wing back position. What do you think about that?
I don't think yesterday was the game to go forward at the back. Their threat came from wide areas, and if you go to a 4 at the back, then you get dragged out, because what I imagine would have happened is Sargent would have targeted centre back, probably Viner, because he's the weaker of the two natural centre backs on the pitch, and I think then he moves Viner about, and then you've got that big space behind the fullback. I think when you've got 3 there, because they were playing Saints so high and they kept Saints on for the full 90. He wasn't asked to do anything yesterday defensively. Saints, he was just like, right, you stayed there, you carry the threat, you're the counter-attacking option. And I think it was the correct shape yesterday, 5. I actually don't think there was actually many people to bring on.
Sam, what about Morrison?
Again, but who do you put back wing back?
Well, no, you bring a recognised defender across. I mean, Viner Viner defensively has got to be better as a right.
You have a back 3 of Roberts.
No, I'm going across the back. Across the back, I'm going for the final 10 minutes of the game, keeping your bets. I'm going Viner, Dickey, Roberts, Pring, and Morrison, because Morrison came on against Leeds when it was.
You're doing Viner, David. You're essentially you're having Viner playing right wing back, and it's a little bit of a stretch to ask Morrison to come in such a high risk game that really you need to be winning after so many things have been dropped. I think there's 2 points. Point number 1 here, we got over the line yesterday, so we can talk about should he have done this? Was Bell the right position? I don't think so. But going forward, I would not want to see Bell as right wing back. Imagine Sykes can't play in the next game. You will start there. And I think that was my main error for me, is that Every time Bell is right wing back, he gets done. It's just not made for
Well,
that side of the
Dave, I don't think Hughes any better from that perspective.
Don't forget, people. Ross McCrory may be back. We don't know, do we?
He's not even on the bench. I don't think Ross McCrory is even on the bench yet. So, luckily we've got an international break coming up, but we've got a real issue. If Tanner's out for the season, which looks like he is, I don't think Sykes is seriously injured. Touch wood.
Hopefully, it's just a tight calf.
Hypothetically, let's say Sykes is injured for a month. You're looking at it then, and you're like, right, where's McCrory? If McCrory's not fit, you're playing wingers at wing back. You've got Sam Bell, who the club have come out and said we view him as a number 9. And you're sticking him at right wing back. You're going, we're going to develop him as a 9, even though he's nowhere near good enough to play number 9. He played number 9.
In a way, this goes back to not signing another wing back in January, because ultimately
we recruited for a 4-2-3-1. I imagine we had in our thinking we had Twine and the 10 and Bird and Knight as our 2 6 and an 8, and then you've got the wide options in Yu Hirakawa. I don't think we recruited to play a 3 at the back, and we're now seeing it. Our best shape is a 3 at the back, and
that's what's happened since West Brom.
You wasn't recruited as number 10. He was the wide player in the 3, wasn't he? In a 4-2-3-1.
All right, guys. Look, final action of the half came on 93 minutes, and Rob Dickey took one for the team. He was done, good and proper. Les, red card. Lucky to get away with a yellow.
No, I think it's a yellow, because it's covering defenders. I was watching it on fast forward because I just couldn't watch it because I was so nervous, and I was thinking we got to the 90th minute, we're okay. Then when it fast forwards, you see little clips, and all I saw was Dickey with his head in his hands and the ref running over, and a load of City players. I was thinking, oh shit, it's a penalty. He must have given away a penalty or a red card there. But no, it was a clever tackle. He took one for the team. And I'll give Max credit, kind of say, for the free kick. If you watch the free kick, Max did what a lot of keepers don't do, in that he stood much closer to the middle of the goal than a lot of keepers have done with Twine. Now, Nunes is a very good free kick taker, but by O'Leary just taking a few steps to the right, it makes it harder for him to do that whip one to the top corner to the keeper's right, which meant he then went to the keeper's left. The fact he was probably over 30 yards up as well. But he's a very good free kick taker, but I think Max's positioning was spot on.
Dave
and that
Dickey, the free kick.
Welcome to the dark arts. Against Hull, we were all frustrated at their dark arts abilities, and this time we've done it. We've done what needed to be done, and well done to Dickey. It was sensing the moment. I think it was a yellow card because there was cover, but even if there was the same tackle, 94th minute, as a defender, you do what you need to do, and it's good to see. We're not being too nice.
Yeah. Okay.
You take down the player and you.
It was the same with Sheffield United. Keeper hits it long and it goes over the back of our defenders, and then you're worrying about the result in melee. So there was a little bit of a melee, and you're thinking, oh, what's he given? And I was holding him on to my mate for dear life because I just was willing him to miss, and I've never cheered a miss so much in my life. I was absolutely breathless, dry mouth, felt like I run a sprint.
Well, you're over the same side of the ground as me, and my heart was.
You can't see it. It gives you a false impression.
I thought it had gone in, and then I watched the game on the highlights this morning, and I think Max had it covered. But it wasn't far away, Tom, was it? You were sat just behind me last night, but did you think?
I thought it was it.
You thought it was
I thought it was it, because when we were sat, it looked like he curled it into the far corner.
And then the Norwich fans didn't move though, did they? So that's when I knew.
I mean, it's a great foul by Dickey to get a yellow for that sort of foul is that's quite impressive. It's borderline. You could see if it was a red, it's a bit like Barry Bannon's where he got sent off against us. Maybe not to the same extent, but there's an argument because of the way Sargent turns that Roberts wouldn't get back across because Sargent rolls him and he's through 1-on-1. Roberts is a bit behind, but he's coming from the other side. So if it's against us, you're screaming for a red card. But if you're defending, you're going, well, there's a man there. So, it's 50-50. But too many times we've not had enough game management, and I thought Williams took one for the team yesterday on the counter attack.
Yes.
I thought there was a bit more in added time. There was 4 added on. I reckon a minute was played in open play.
Yeah.
Max O'Leary did his best flat ball impression.
He got yellow for it, didn't he?
I mean, he was taking a minute after the ball in. We were a lot better yesterday at seeing the game out, and that was the best thing.
I have to say, Mark, this is like having the 12th man. It was a little bit naming Sam Allison, who, according to Wikipedia, was on City's books as a youngster.
He was, yes.
You know, it's a little bit like the advantage Ipswich had against us in the
yeah.
up in London, when one of their questions, "Who am I?"
Yeah, it's Bramble.
Who I started my career at Ipswich Town and made 50 appearances. I mean, you know, we were all going to know that. But Sam Allison, up the road from Chippenham, was he our 12th man? Can we have you reffing every week?
I think he was very fair, and he thought he refereed the game really well. I mean, we got 4 bookings, didn't we, for daft fouls? But I think we didn't kill that. We didn't manage the game out very well. We didn't stick the ball in the corner. But what Tom said, I mean, we ran the clock down through Max O'Leary, and they usually had on 30 seconds for time wasting anyway. You can't really waste time. But we knew once the ball was placed by Max O'Leary, he was going to blow the whistle, and it was a welcome end to the game. For relief, absolute relief. It was too much.
I thought we did okay, actually, in seeing the game out in general. There was a period, I think it was like 86th to 89th minute, where they didn't have a touch with the ball. It was like going down, passing it around, another free kick. And for once, until that free kick, you can't say there was a lot of drama heading towards 90 minutes. It was like it was 84 and it was 90, and that went fast.
Well,
and I actually think we did a pretty reasonable job.
I think it's more to do with the fact that we didn't kill them off. They scored a goal that they deserved, but then there's a heightened pressure of thinking, oh, we're going to throw it away. And they didn't really have any clear-cut chances, and we saw the game out.
We did.
Really, but we had chances to kill the game off, stone dead at 2-0. And that's the next step that we got to make. When we got teams on the ground, kill them off.
All right, Les, referees, I think the last few games we've had, I thought they've been refereed quite decently. Would you agree with that?
The last 2 have, I thought. I don't think Allison.
Yeah,
is that his name? The referee. I didn't think he really had a huge amount to do other than the Dickey decision. I thought the referee against Sheffield United was excellent, because so many of them bottle it, especially away from home, especially against a big side. And if it was a Linnington, if it was that bloke, who was that ref we had against Oxford?
I don't
know. Oliver Langford, that's it. If it him or Linnington, they would have bottled it and they would have given the penalty, and he didn't. So I think the last 2 have been decent.
Yeah, I've got to pick up a comment on what Paul Binning said here. Paul, XR Robin, no Paul very well, nice chap, been on here a few times. And he said they don't see Sam Bell as a 9. That was just Brian Tinney's spiel to back up the lack of transfer activity. Actually, when I had that interview with Brian Tinian very early on last summer, he made that comment then, and he has said it more than once. Yeah, I don't tend to agree with him. I don't see Bell as a 9 myself, but the club have said that, haven't they, Tom?
Sam Bell, I know they did a lot of work in pre-season with him as a 9 after Conway went. He played 9 for the 21s when he was in the 21 setup. When they played 2 up top, they had Conway and Bell together, and then they had the likes of Scott and Co behind. Sam Bell is nowhere near physical enough to be a 9. With Sam Bell, he's a strange figure because he's got games. I would go back to Southampton at home last year where he was fantastic, but yet he doesn't do it enough. And a consistent Championship player has to be at a level every week. I don't think Sam Bell is that. He's got moments where he's at that level, but it's a consistency.
I mean, look, the thing is as well, Tom, if we did go up, he's toast.
Nowhere near. No.
And if we don't go up and we want to kick on next season and just go that extra yard, that extra 5 or 6 points.
Yeah, he's out of contract. And the easy thing would be to get him on. I can't imagine he takes that much wages. An easy thing would be put him on a new 2-year deal. I really hope we don't. I really hope we're brave with our decision and go.
But his dad used to play.
Right, exactly.
But that's
100%. And his dad's still in the club as a transition coach. And I know Mickey Bell's one of Brian's best mates, but it's not that shouldn't come into factor.
No, but
it's
it does.
Of course it does, but it shouldn't do, and that's the point. You've got.
But that's the difference between Bristol City being a cosy club and a club that
but
is
I
serious
think
about
under Manning we've become less of a cosy club. Actually, I don't think he's as sentimental. He got rid of Andy King.
Got rid of Matty James.
He got rid of Matty
let
James.
Andy Wyman go.
Let Andy Wyman go. I don't think Manning's the type of person to go, look, thank you for what you've done. Man doesn't care about the past. He sort of assesses what's right in front of him. And I think he knows, and I hope he knows that Sam Bell's not the level. Yeah. And I hope, based off that decision, that.
But equally, Liam's ambitious, and if we finish the season, whatever we do, if we finish where we are now, or even if we just miss out and finish seventh, he's going to be on other clubs' radars, isn't he?
Because Liam Manning. Well, he's got his stock is so high. I mean, he's an English coach. He's got Bristol City from a mid-table club to a sustained playoff push. He plays good football. Any relegated team that sacked their manager within a couple months of the season start, and say a Luton this year or Southampton, say it didn't work out when they came down, they would immediately look to Liam Manning. So
yeah. All right, guys, let's wrap up with our thoughts. Well, we got no time limit today because none of us are working. Last 16 games. Well, you are, Dave. Sorry, mate. Last 16 games, won 8, drawn 6, lost 2. That's 30 points from 16 games. That's right up there. The last 4 games, 2 wins and 2 draws. We wouldn't have expected them in that order, but 2 wins, 2 draws. That's 8 points. 14. What are we now? I wrote down before we went live. 8 games to go. 4 wins, 2 draws, 2 defeats. That would put us on 71. And I said before the game, and I think I said it on X during the week, 5 wins out of, it was 5 wins out of 9, actually. We've got 8 to go. If we win 4, is 4 wins enough? 4 wins, 2 draws, 2 defeats, 71? Or have we really got to still win 5 out of 8? Your thoughts?
One game at a time. Just one game at a time right now. You have to remember, right? Yesterday, for me, it was a statement win. We weren't at our best. Norwich, I thought, they were good going forward, and yet we won. And we saw at a game that we've seen that story so many times. And now you have to look at it. We're going to Burnley away. We're 5th in the league. It's not a write-off. It is kind of a free hit because they're first place. But go there to get something, because a few games ago we were hearing the tough run is coming. It's a difficult run coming up. Beat Middlesbrough, no problem. Went to Millwall, won. Sheffield United outplayed them yesterday, got the 3 points. This is in the difficult phase of the season now. Why can't we go to Burnley and get something? That's where my focus is. Once we've done Burnley, then we move on to the next one. But right now, we're 5th place. We'll see where you are. Go to Burnley with confidence and get something.
Okay. Les, can we do it?
Well, I mean, we can, but it doesn't mean we will. I mean, I quite like the fact we've got some tough opponents coming up, because that just takes the pressure off a little bit. But in this league, anything can happen. Anyone can beat anyone. I mean, people were saying, a guy put in the chat here, Hull, that was a poor result. This whole team went to Sheffield United and beat them 3-0. And they went to Sunderland and beat them 1-0 and conceded 2 shots on target from 25 yards. There ain't no easy games in this league. And Burnley, they are not a side who piss all over sides, are they? They're a team who nick wins. They get the 1-0s, they get the 2-0s, whatever. But the way we're playing, I think we can give anyone a game. So I'm confident that we can go to Burnley, do what we've been doing, and
is it a blessing?
I think our lack of squad depth in key positions might cost us. Last time I came on the pod, I said I didn't think we'd get in the playoffs this year, but we're building the foundations for next year. So I think it may be a case that we may fall slightly short. But what I will say is we're playing better football than ever, and I'm really enjoying what we're doing. And I think Manning deserves a lot of credit, whether we get into the playoffs.
Mark, your thoughts?
Interesting fixtures today. Coventry got a win to go above us. Draw wouldn't be enough. They got Sunderland at home. And West Brom have got the team we played. They got Hull at home, who've been very good away. Next 3 games interesting. Burnley, I think we can get a result up there. Then we got home games against Watford and West Brom in 3 days. So those will really tell where we are after those 3 games. But yeah, Burnley, they've only won the same number of home games as we have, 10. Drawn 6 and lost none. Just lost 2 games away all season. But they started the season like a train. 9 goals in the first 2. Took them 13 more games to score another 9 goals. They just defend brilliantly. I think we had 1 clear-cut chance against them at Ashton Gate when Yu's first touch was poor and James Trafford made a good save coming out of his goal. But they give you a chance. They've had Preston should have beaten him up there when a good goal was disallowed, as my cousin keeps telling me non-stop. I think we can get a point, but we've got to win all our home games. Of course, if we beat West Brom at home, that shifts the momentum to us. But there's a long way to go. 8 games, long way.
I think this year has to be the year that we get in playoffs, because I think next year, I don't think Manning will be with us the whole season. And I think then we'll be in a situation where we'll then have to get into a new manager and we'll rebuild again. I think this is the year that Manning's going to finish the season with us. And if we're, I just can't say, I think his stock's going to be too high. And I think he's going to have a more ambitious job next year, that, like in Oxford, I think he's a manager that is so career driven that I don't think he's going to stick out the whole year next year. So I think this is the year for Manning. And I think in the back of his head, he almost knows that. I think he's a very intelligent man, and he knows how high his stock will be, no matter where we finish now in the season.
He's intelligent and ambitious.
Well, if he gets into playoffs, and he knows getting Bristol City into playoffs will be looked at as a fantastic achievement, and he knows what he's doing now is a fantastic achievement. He's got all the pundits speaking about him. And I think this is the year. I don't think the Championship is overall too strong this year. I think next year will be a harder division. You've got Birmingham coming up. You've got teams on the up. You've got teams coming down that strong. I think this is the year that we have to get into the playoffs. I really do.
And just like 2017-18, when we had our last, I'll call it flirtation, certainly we were at the halfway stage, but we fell away. We lost our best players that summer, Flint, Bryan and Reed, they all went.
Yeah.
And we haven't had the showcase of a cup run to draw it. But, if we don't make it, people are going to come knocking on the door.
Can I ask a question before I have to go? Do you think Knight will be here next season? Because
no, that's what I was going to say, Dave. I think he's somebody that's going to be, on other clubs' radar. If we go up,
you'd give us 15 million quid then.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Give us 10 to 15 million quid, and then we'll say thank you very much.
No, thank you. No, so that's your barometer.
He's who's that midfielder that played for Leicester that went to Chelsea? The French midfielder.
Oh God. Yeah, I know who you mean.
Pardon?
Conte.
Yeah, he's like him. Covers every blade of grass. His metrics must be high. You want him in your midfield because he just works.
Right, guys, I think we need to wrap it up there. If you're listening to this on the podcast later on in the day, the opening music, I was thinking of doing the Crazy World of Arthur Brown and Fire, because this is a little safety message for everybody. Melanie at home has been telling me for years, don't put petrol on the bonfire to actors and accelerant. And I did that and ended up at Clevedon Minor Injuries Unit on Wednesday night, and I'm having the leg dressed every day. But I've not gone for the Crazy World of Arthur Brown and Fire, or Prodigy and Firestarter, although that was me, but it backfired. I'm having to buy a new pair of Skechers because one of them got burnt in the accident. But instead, I've opted for the music from a film that was on twice. I caught it twice on BBC this week, and it was on probably because yesterday was Michael Caine's 92nd birthday, probably one of my favourite actors. And that movie from which today's podcast entree music comes from was Get Carter. So I don't know if anybody remembers that. Ian Hendry in it, set up in Newcastle in the 70s, very gritty. I think it might even have been, no, it wasn't black and white, but Mark knows the answer to this one, but I don't think either of the rest of you here do. Who was the ex-Coronation Street actor, character name or actor name then, who got thrown off the top of a high-rise building in Get Carter? right?
Yeah,
Now,
it was Brian Mosley. It was Alf Roberts.
there we go.
He got thrown over the edge of the building, didn't he, by a very upset Michael Caine. Fell to his death. Fell onto a car roof, didn't he?
He did, yeah, big bang. Anyway, we got a week off, which will be nice. And I have to say, when I set fire to myself, I was more concerned about being berated by Mel than I was actually the fact that the skin was hanging off the lower part of my leg. But there we go. So that was my week, and I'll be celebrating my birthday on Monday. So I'm having a week off as well. So
Happy
we'll be
birthday,
back.
David.
We'll be back for the Burnley game. Whether we do it on Saturday night remains to be seen, because Dave, we'd like to have you on for that. Yeah, so we could do it Saturday night from a hotel, or if we do it Sunday morning. So we advise everybody that later on. But Les, Dave, Mark, and Tom, thank you for your support, and thank you for the 300 plus, almost 400 people that have listened in today. Have a good international break, everybody. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.